and we welcome in, as we do every week when possible here, our friend, Washington Times columnist Charles Hurt. Hello, Charles.
Hey, Steve. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Couldn't be better. Couldn't be better.
Well, I know you of course not, because you recently watched part of an episode of Honey Boo Boo. So, of course, you couldn't be better. And we're going to get to that. That's what your column was about today. But I want to throw something at you that I just saw breaking on Drudge. The headline that the only black senator in the U.S. Senate was not invited today to be a participant up there on the stage and be a dignitary at the Obama speech.
Isn't that a sad commentary on where we are today and how far, in some ways, we have not come since Martin Luther King Jr. gave that speech 50 years ago? And it's not for a lack of effort among a lot of good Americans all over the country who have worked so hard and in their personal, private lives worked so hard to make this place a better place, and a better place for people who have been mistreated in the past. And yet the political class, the sort of the elites, the liberals who have now hijacked the movement, the civil rights movement, now use it for political means in order to punish anyone who would think differently, punish real diversity. And it's a real, to me, it's got to be the most troubling thing about politics in America today.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. And again, we're talking about South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, who is the only black serving in the U.S. Senate. He happens to be a Republican, and he just was not invited. And that just flies in the face of everything Obama talked about, and then almost flies in the face of everything everybody else talked about. I mean, I guess they should have put a little footnote or a little asterisk or a little made a note, a qualifier at the beginning and end of every speech saying this doesn't apply to anybody who's politically different than us, or this doesn't apply to anybody who happens to be a Republican. We only want these things for people who believe like we do.
Who are in total agreement with us. It's a degree of thought police that I've never sort of we've never really had a history of that in this country, but that is exactly what it is. And to sit there and listen to these rappers, Kanye West and some of these people talking about how those people have taken over the mantle of MLK. It's just shocking to me, because what do they know about civil rights? What do they know about any of this? And yet they're sort of put upon by the elite liberal sort of mainstream sort of establishment as being sort of the Martin Luther Kings of today. Whereas, of course, the Martin Luther King Jr. is a great, wonderful symbol of peace and progress for all Americans. And to sort of try to splinter it up and actually, I think it's all a power thing. The reason that they want to keep Martin Luther King as their hero and somebody that the rest of us are not allowed to be proud of is because they want to keep power. And it's the worst kind of segregation and race politics that you could have.
No, absolutely. Before we get to your column, let me throw one thing out at you, because it's been bothering me all night and all day. And I got to tell you, I don't tend to be a conspiracy theorist, but I don't think you have to be a conspiracy theorist. And we heard Janet Napolitano, who I really have no use for. I don't think she did a good job, and we could go on and on and on. But she said something that was very similar to what Leon Panetta said when he left, and what we've been hearing from people in the security field and reading from people like Bill Gertz, and that there is a cyber attack coming, that it is going to be huge, and that it is going to change America, and that it is going to cost lives. And basically, what they're saying is, as I read, I translate the following translation from each and every one of these predictions, dire predictions, is that we're going to have no electricity. We're going to have a blackout that's going to last for months or years, and our society as we know it is going to be over. I mean, it seems to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, that that's what these people are trying to tell us, and nobody seems to want to talk about it or even care or even is listening. Am I nuts, or should I be concerned here?
I know. I'm with you, and I find this stuff absolutely terrifying. I find either these hackers that bombard this country every single day, and as well as the both natural and unnatural, with something like an electromagnetic pulse.
Right.
That is not, if you look back through history, it's not an unheard of, it's not an unexpected sort of thing. It's sort of hard to say how we will, how damaging it'll be, and how Americans will be able to respond to it. But I am certain of one thing, that to whatever degree the government is not prepared to handle such a thing, I do think that Americans left to their own freedoms and their own abilities to, among other things, bear arms, they'll be a whole lot better off. We as a society will be a whole lot better off if we are prepared as individuals to do
Right. I mean, food. I mean, you couldn't go to, and I didn't mean to sidetrack into this. I've just been dying to talk about it all day, and I figured you could talk about anything.
But people will think you're crazy if you stock away several months worth of food.
Well, that's it. Water, food, and a generator, and here's the thing. You have to understand if what they're and again, this is the defense secretary who was outgoing, the Homeland Security director who's outgoing. They all make a point to tell us, hey, you don't have any idea what's coming, but it's going to be devastating. So, I mean, no electricity means no gas. You can't drive your car. You can't get money out of the ATM. You can't get medicine. You can't have food deliveries. I mean, we're talking about like prehistoric. I mean, we're talking about nothing.
Yeah, and it's why I think that it's obviously the dangerous side of all of us becoming super reliant upon technology.
Absolutely.
And technology is a wonderful thing, and it's a great thing, but there's a real danger if you forget some of the more fundamental stuff, and that's why I think all these these movements we see about people growing their own food and making connections in society in their communities with farmers and people who know how to do this sort of thing. I think all that is very healthy, and when you have the federal government coming in, I can speak from experience. I gladly every week break the law and get fresh milk that has not been pasteurized. And I have it delivered. And the farmer that I had providing that to me 2 years ago he was an Amish guy, and the federal agents, armed federal agents in SWAT gear, at pre-dawn raided his farm and put his family at gunpoint.
Why?
Because it's illegal. Because
Oh.
you're not allowed to sell unpasteurized milk, and because if you are, you're somehow subverting the government or something. And my goodness, no. First of all, I like unpasteurized milk. I like fresh milk straight out of the cow. But beyond that, I also like having a connection with a farmer who knows how to do this sort of thing.
Yeah, sure.
Very important to me. But the federal government, I kid you not, USDA police raided the man's farm and put him out of business.
Wow. Now we're talking to Charles Hurd of the Washington Times here on the Steve Malzberg Show. All right, we'll have further discussions about this stuff, but
I'll always talk to you about that stuff.
No, and then it starts to make sense about you start hearing these people talk about camps that are being built and ammunition being bought up certainly, and preparing for this, preparing for that, and you start to think if there's chaos in the streets and all. I mean, it just unfortunately all seems to start making sense. So it's just it's frightening. But let's move on.
And also don't forget this. The sad thing about it is, or not the sad thing, but the fact of the matter is, the people who are going to fare the worst under those circumstances are the poorest, most vulnerable people today. And so when people like these Democrats try to demagogue on stuff, remember the people who are going to lose out in that situation are going to be the poorest and most vulnerable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right. Now, speaking of I don't know, the poorest and most vulnerable. Now, what made you do a piece on Here Comes Honey Boo Boo?
Have you ever watched this?
I've turned through it. I look at them sitting on the couch, like you allude to kind of here in this piece, and I never really sat through an episode because I'm thinking, oh, my God, what is this? And this poor little girl, I think she's being, like, exploited, but I don't even know. You tell me.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. I was watching a baseball game. It was over quick, sooner than I expected, so I switched over and I found this. And I started watching it. And I've been hearing about it. I remember it was a big deal. The media made a huge deal when she endorsed President Obama in the 2008 election. And then you come to find out she's a beauty pageant queen who's completely exploited by her family. It's a family of illiterate rednecks who, as best I can tell, none of them work, and that they all overeat and eat trashy, horrible food, and it's all a big joke. And it's a big joke about, and it is the establishment media laughing at America, saying this is who you are, and laughing at, and for me particularly being from the South and from the rural South, it's a complete racism. It's complete that they are mocking. That they're mocking the South. They're mocking rural people, and all of this just came at the time when we came to realize that this Duck Dynasty has become this blockbuster, the most popular cable show in the history of cable television, and it's the exact opposite. It's about a family that figured out something that was missing in the marketplace. They went out there, they started making it, they started making a lot of money, and they've built an empire. They're a good family. Every show ends with the family sitting around saying grace. It's also hilarious. They're very funny, but they're good old boys and gals, but they're all decent, self-made people, and that to me is what America is.
Right,
right. This carnival act, Honey Boo Boo, that the mainstream media gives us.
Yeah, and what's that other show that's out now too with these guys? It's like Sweeping the Nation, and it's supposedly like the #1 show on TV. What's it called? Not the porn shop. No. There's something else. It's
the guns. That I've seen that once or twice. It's interesting. What is the name of it?
I can't remember, but yeah, it's just great. But it's another kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say what I think.
He's a small businessman. If it's the one that I think it is, he started a auto dealership and has made good money and done what most Americans do, or at least try to do, aspire to do, and it's what was once celebrated.
Right, now it's mocked. Now the whole thing is mocked. Absolutely.
Ridiculed.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Hey, fascinating conversation. I'll just let you know that John Boehner has written a letter to the president demanding specific, or asking, I guess, for the courtesy of, and maybe not demanding, for a list of answers to specific questions like how will this help if we bomb Syria? How will it enhance our security? How will it stop him from using chemical weapons again? We want answers before you do this. So I don't think he'll get them, but he just so you know, he made that request. My friend, thank you very much. We'll talk next week.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, my pleasure. That's Charles Hurd.